During this section, I will focus about how to do the same attacks that we explained during this course, but remotely. How can I compromise a system remotely? This system could be a computer, could be a mobile phone, any system, how to do that remotely. We focused during the attacks to do that locally. I mean, how can we attack target locally? But we need to see how to do that remotely. Now, to be able to do that, we're going to follow the same steps of the previous attack, except we need to change or to have two different chances. Number one, instead of using your private IP, you're going to use your public IP. I mean, in most of the previous attack, we used the private IP, which was 192.168.1. whatever. But in this case, if you are sending to the victim a public IP, you need to send them, you send them your IP, you need to send them your public IP, not your private. And to be able to know what public IP you are using, simply just type whatismyip.com, and I believe I already explained that before. Whatismyip.com, and it will show you what IP you are using. But definitely we will not use this IP the same way it is, because this is an evidence against you. So number one, that for the attack, or if you are implementing any malicious code or doing any social engineering, you need to send him your public IP, not your private IP, the ones that you are using internally. But this is not actually the main issues that I need to explain in this lecture. The main issues that I need to explain in this issue is that you need to configure port forwarding. And I need to explain to you what is port forwarding. This is the core or the main issue to be able to establish a remote attack. What is port forwarding? Now let's take this small diagram that we are explaining. Assume that the victim are behind, are on the internet, and this is your network. The one on the right, it's your network. You have a machine. You have many many devices inside your network. You have some machine which has 192.168.1.106, 107. You have a mobile phone. You have a server. You have a tablet. So you have different computer on your network. And all the computer and all the devices, they have different private IP, but they have the same public IP. The IP that I showed you, it's the same public IP. So all the machine has the same public IP, but they have a different private IP. And actually, the public IP is not the one who is assigned to the computer. The public IP is the router IP. So all of them, because they are using the same router to connect to the internet, so they are using the IP of the router, which is the public IP. So you need to understand the difference between private and public. Now here is the scenario. Assume that I did send to the victim that is on this global or on the internet a URL that is the IP of your computer, right? And once he click on this URL, I will get full access to his machine. Now what happened is, because I'm sending that to someone that is on the internet, on the WLAN, I didn't send him my private, as I just mentioned. I sent to the victim my public IP, which is the router IP. So I'm assuming that I send the email for the victim. The victim are clicking on the public IP. Now he's trying to connect to the public IP. So the traffic will reach the router, right? I mean, the victim is connecting to the router. And then he will be confused to which computer I need to connect, to this computer or that computer or my mobile or my tablet. So what I'm saying is, when the traffic, the malicious traffic or the victim is doing a reverse connection back, okay, and he's connecting from his computer to the hacker computer, since he's connecting to the public IP, so the traffic will reach to the router, and then he will be confused. He can find that there is many computer behind this router. So to which machine I should connect? And this is where I need to configure according to the port. So you noticed in some previous attacks that we were specifying that the victim will do a reverse connection to my computer, which has this IP, and I have to specify the port as well. If you go back to the attacks that we implemented in social engineering or malicious software or set or any attack, you notice that whenever we are configuring attack, we need to specify the IP, which was our IP, private IP, and the port. What will be changed, as you're going to see on the next demonstration, I'm going to change the private IP to the public IP, and I'm going to keep the port. But what I'm going to do on my router, I'm going to go to my router and I'm going to tell him any traffic coming from outside, if it target port 4444, please forward this traffic to my computer. If it target port 4568, please forward it to. So I'm configuring to router to receive the traffic and forward the traffic according to the port number. It depends on the traffic is coming to which port. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then it will be more clear once we take an example. To do this port forwarding, which will allow to accept traffic, the router accept traffic and forward the traffic to a specific machine, I need to go to my router. So you can go to your router by typing the router IP. If you are not aware of the router IP, you just need, check. It's usually written on the bottom of the router, but most of the cases it's 192.168.1.1 or .0.1. This is most of the router has this default IP to allow you to configure the router. And I will go here, enter to my router, and we're going to go to the advanced setting. The interface will be changed, will be different depending on what router you are using, but you're going to look for the same options that you are doing. So in my case, I will look for port forwarding. This is the main thing that you need to learn to be able to do a remote attack. And don't worry if things seem to be a little bit complicated. It's quite easy. Once we take a demonstration, it will be quite easy. And here I can say I have to specify the IP and the port. So since I will accept the traffic on my Linux machine, let me see the IP of my Linux machine. My Kali Linux. So let's see, let me clear the screen. And let me type ifconfig. And as you can see, the IP is 192.168.1.107. So going back here, I will type regarding the IP, which is my Kali Linux, or it could be the GNAC or Backtrack, any computer 192.168.1.107. Okay. If you receive a TCP traffic, I can keep TCP or UDP or both, but in my case, most of the attack will be TCP. So I'm telling him any traffic, TCP traffic coming from outside and requesting to connect to port 4444, depend on the attack will be done on which port. I mean, if the attack will be, you'll be sending a traffic that will allow the victim to connect on port 443 or 55 or whatever port, you put the port here and you click on apply change. And it should show down here. Now, what exactly this line means? This means that any traffic coming from outside from the internet to the router, if the traffic is showing that is coming or targeting port 4444, please forward this traffic to this IP, which is my Kali Linux IP. And on my Kali Linux, I will establish a listener and he will accept that. If you didn't do this specific step, any traffic coming from outside to the router, it will be stuck because he don't know to which computer behind the router he should connect. So let's see a real example to simplify the process. But what I want you to do right now is to go inside your router configuration. Do not change anything. Just check this port forwarding. And on the next lecture, we're going to take a real example to show you how it works.